The following program is a paid commercial presentation on WINT. The views and opinions presented on this program do not necessarily coincide with those of our ownership, management, or staff.
Mondays with Malta and Ray Malavic too. We're all about the kids. We're all about the kids. We're all about the kids. Welcome to Mondays with Malta and Ray Malavic too. And we've got a special night here tonight at the Happy Moose, our home away from home. And that is It's Browns night. And we're excited. We have to set these shows up months in advance. And boy, we nailed this one, my man.
Yeah, good timing, huh?
6 and 3. The buzz is in the air. And we're at the Happy Moose, so stop on out. If you're driving around, stop on out. Right on the corner of Reynolds Road and the 306 exit of the freeway. We're at 7693 Reynolds Road. This is the Happy Moose. The great Sal and Nita's family owns this one and just opened another one in Streetsboro, Ohio, about 10 minutes from Kent State. So if you're going out to Kent, make sure you stop and see the Happy Moose number 2. Tonight, as advertised, go ahead, Sam, not yet. There's a lot of fans here want to get autographs, and go ahead and do that. And we'll get to Sam as they're lined up here to see Brian Brennan and Robert Jackson and Greg Pruitt along with Coach Sam. Tonight's program couldn't be done without our wonderful sponsors, and it's brought to you by D&W Goods. Dan Phillips, owner-operator, 440-34220. Dan made the shirt that I am wearing, and Glenn, and the jacket that Ray is wearing. Pepco Jack Borky, owner-operator, located at 33210 Lakeland Boulevard. Pepco is a wholesaler distributor of electrical data, telecommunications, utility, and high voltage. You can reach Pepco at Cease Lake office at 440-946-3790. Tonight's program is brought to you by Jack Borky from Pepco, and we'd like to thank Jack for doing that. Clements Construction, Mike Clements, owner-operator, 4403-951-2033. You need new roof repairs, a reputable, honest company, call Clements Construction, 440-951-2033. Matrix Tool Machine, Rich Wilson, owner-operator, proud sponsors of Mondays with Malta. Menor High School Sports, Chinese auction over there at Lake Catholic. You can reach Rich and just a great guy at 440-255-0300. Menor Family Foods, owner-operator P.J. Conway, located at the corner of Lakeshore and Route 306. Tell him Charlie sent you. Couldn't do it without the community of Menor over there on the corner of, like I said, Lakeshore and 306, because of the fact he's a small guy in a grocery business and just a great guy. He'll get you anything you need. Thanksgiving coming up. Very, very excited about the holidays. Stop at Menor Family Foods and do your shopping. Forenza Stone, owner-operator Mike Fimiani, 216-780-4938. Located at 37033 Vine Street in Willoughby, specializing in granite, marble, and engineered stone. Check out their website at www.forenzastone.com. Last but not least, our good buddy Kramer Printing. And Lenny Kramer, he prints the best program in high school, as attested by all the high schools that go by. When we were there at the gates, passing them out, selling them. You can reach Lenny at 440-205-1199. Been with us for quite a long time, and we'd like to thank wonderful Lenny Kramer. I'd like to give Debbie Stanicki a plug. Cakes2you.net. That's www.cakes2you.net. You've been in that press box at the Willoughby South, run by Susan Shannon, and what a spread they have for the broadcast team. And a little shout out to Debbie Stanicki for being a part of that, along with Dunkin' Donuts and our good friends with that Dickey's Barbecue. So we'd like to thank them. Lots of people here tonight. We are Mondays with Malta and Ray Malavic too, and it is Browns night at the Happy Moose. We'd like to thank Jack Borky for making this possible, getting a lot of the ex-Browns here. And Sam's here. We're going to get to him first. Jeff Schudel, the Browns beat writer. And we've got tons of questions to talk to Brian Brennan and Robert Jackson, too. Ray, a shout-out to our teams that made it to round 2, Menor, South, Kirtland, and Mayfield. We'll be doing the South game Friday night, and we'll be doing the Menor game on Saturday night. South at Solon and the Menor at the University of Akron. But you can stay right in your house, catch it on WINTradio.com or 1330 a.m. How you doing, partner?
And also Madison and Mayfield right over at the JTO. So
what a great spot for that.
Terrific. In fact, some of the spots were a little surprising to me, but they always come up a little bit surprising in week 2. After that, they kind of settle in geographically, so there isn't too many shockers. But the one that kind of got me is Menor going out to Akron to take on Canton Glen Oak, when Canton Glen Oak can get there hop, skip, and a jump. So, once again, there's always somebody that plays closer to home than someone else. In this case, the Cardinals got a little shafted, but Striv will show up with his guys, and they'll put a good show on for everybody.
Well, you've seen the real deal Friday night. You called the game South. I said it would be a 2-touchdown advantage for the South Rebels. It was even better than that. And you had to be very impressed. You had seen them earlier in the year, but they got it going on all cylinders.
Well, everybody talks about it, DJ Green, and rightfully so. What a tremendous season he's had. One of the best ever. I mean, Kareem Hunt had some outstanding years there and now doing great in college, of course, at Toledo. But DJ Green, what he's done this year it's almost monumental. But the guy that I talked about on the radio Friday night, and I really believe this, the guy who has really made that team what it is today is the quarterback. I mean, I saw him early when they lost 3 games in a row, and he was struggling. But I also kept remembering he was a 10th grader, thrown into the mix of a tough schedule. And a lot of pressure on them because South was, they're perennial, the PAC champs, so many years in a row. Almost everybody predicts them to get to the playoffs, and here's this young kid with the reins. And as I say, he struggled week 1, 2, 3. Now, he played tough teams. However, he kept getting better. He kept getting better. And not just getting better, but confident. And what I saw Friday night, I mean, now I believe South. I mean, Bedford is a fine team. They're all fine at this point, or they wouldn't be there. They're undefeated. How about that for fine? But I'll tell you what, South has what it takes. They've got a tremendous running back. Is he not the best in the area? I haven't seen anyone better.
No, he is.
No question. Speed, power, catches the ball, and blocks. I mean, he does it all. They've got a tremendous kicker, and I say this every year, as you know, when you get to weeks 12, 13, and beyond, you must have a superior place kicker. He will come into play. They have one of the best around, and then they've got this kid calling the signal, taking the snaps, and throwing, 4 passes on Friday night. An interception, 2 touchdown passes, and an incomplete. That's not too bad when you can then hand off to Green, to Mackey, and so on. And then he runs the ball now. He did not in the beginning, and rightfully so. Duffy didn't want to throw him to the wolves, but he runs the ball. So now all of a sudden you've got 3 running backs, a guy that can throw, and he's got good receivers. I'll tell you what, they're hot. And they're hot.
Right. Mike Federico, he comes from great stock, quarterback. His dad played on that undefeated South team and made it to the state semifinals back in the early 90s. And he's a good one. I've known him since he's been very young. And we're excited about the South team. It's a pleasure to be their announcer. You being up in that booth almost for all 5 of the games. I know you missed 1 or 2, but still, it's been fun. Men are just on a roll. And that division, anybody's call, because there's not anybody in this room that could just say this one team is going to win.
No, and let's not slight someone else who we have not mentioned, but certainly not slighting them in the least, the Kirtland Hornets.
I
mean, what do you say? They just win state titles. They just win 10-0 seasons, one right after the other, 4 or 5. I lost track now. And who's waiting in the wings with that team is Loudonville. And, I've been talking about them since about 4 weeks ago when I called a Gilmore-Loudonville game, and Loudonville wowed me to no end. But you know what? They got to get past Kirtland. Won't be this week, but look out for the following week.
Yeah, that's one we're going to definitely have to take a road trip if we're not doing a game.
Absolutely.
Because maybe Ryan and Steve will pick that game up because there'll be such interest in that game. And
I sure hope so because, they're a part of this area, and what they've done is second to none. Second to none.
And speaking of Steve and lovely Linda from our morning team, and that's Wake Up in the Morning with Steve Newman and Linda Uhas. And there they are right there.
Wake Up like Connie, huh?
And that's them. It's the morning show, they call it now. And very, very nice that they're here tonight. They've both been under the weather, so I'm really very surprised they could make it, but they didn't want to
get up too early. That's the problem. They get up too early.
They're big Browns fans, and they're here being part of the show here tonight. Well, Raymond, once we get to Sam, still the crowd just hovering around the Browns that are here.
They're getting some things signed, some helmets, some you name it, some pictures, some photos, plaques, and that's what it's all about. And look how accommodating the guys are that are here. And this is going to be great. Somebody who I didn't mention is here, too, and was a real joy to have on last year, and that's Jeff Shudell, longtime friend from the News Herald. I mean, Jeff and I go back to the 70s when I started teaching and coaching at Wycliffe, and he did nothing but cover, like John Camp and Bill Tilton in the past, high school sports, so we got to know each other very well. And then he went on to become the beat writer for the Browns. And the question I'm going to ask him, and it's going to blow everybody's mind, is how long has he been doing that? It's been a long time, Charlie.
Yes.
It's been a long time.
Well, I won't say the year, but he covered my golf team at Lakeland. Mm-hmm. So that was his first beat. And, hey, he never looked back because he's done a great job. I don't know if you caught the article by John Camp today, but another great article by him, the story of Timmy Willis and our good buddy Larry Pinto, who played against each other. One was at Mount, and that was Larry, and the other one was at Baldwin Wallace. And you know what? Tim Willis never lost to Larry Pinto. But they're best of friends, and they're playing against each other for the very first time Friday night.
That is a story. That is a real story.
So when Sam can break away, we'll get Sam, and then Jeff Shudell, you want to come?
Jeff right up there, too, because he kind of keeps things rolling. He knows these guys personally and has covered them in the locker room, on the field, and outside of football. In case you're in the area, please stop by. It's nice to listen to us over the air, but come on down live, see these guys in person. They're very accommodating as far as autographs go and, pictures and what have you. So come on down and see some of the great Browns and Browns history and one of the best coaches the Cleveland Browns have ever had in Sam Rutigliano. And speaking of one of the best we've ever had, we got a gentleman sitting down with us now who's one of the best beat coverage men in the business, and he's been with it for a while. But we go back when he used to cover Wycliffe Blue Devils in high school sports. We won't tell you how many years, but I will ask you this, Jeff. How many years now covering the Cleveland Browns on a daily basis?
Since 1981, Ray.
I'm not a math guy, but
yeah.
I used more than 30, isn't it?
Yeah, I used to be the youngest on the beat. Now I'm the oldest.
Is that right?
But I'm still having a great time doing it.
And you're still writing like you never did before.
Well,
you're always top of the game, and good to have you with us again.
Nice to be here.
We enjoyed having you last year, and I'm glad you enjoyed us enough to come back again.
As I recall, it was snowing pretty bad last time I was here.
We're a little better now.
Yes,
we got some nicer weather for you, Jeff, and it's great to see the veterans here tonight and get some stories from them. But let's talk about this exciting team, the Cleveland Browns, the first place Cleveland Browns. You couldn't have thunk it. I didn't think it. Ray couldn't have thunk it. But I kept saying at work, if we could split the first 4 games, the middle section of that schedule is doable, and we can win some of those games. We could be sitting pretty good, and I've been saying that since probably the 1st of August, and it came to fruition, and now it's full speed ahead. Do I recall, did you pick up 6 and 10?
I did.
Okay, see, I read your articles.
Oh, thank you.
I think you actually said I got to reassess myself in 1, 2, didn't you?
Yeah. Well,
and a nice pick at 6 and 10. I mean, realistically, based on what we knew.
Yeah, that was a 2-game improvement. I gave them 2 games, and I'll tell you what, they're playing well. And you know, sometimes you get some fluky wins, sometimes some fluky losses. Mm-hmm. I think this is a legitimate 6-3 team. And I think it's, when you look at the way Brian Hoyer is playing, if Johnny Manziel weren't the backup, it were somebody else, even if it was like Teddy Bridgewater, I think nobody would be asking to see, hey, let's see what Bridgewater can do.
Yep, right.
And so that's not fair to Brian Hoyer. I think people should just get behind him 100%. I don't know what else you want the guy to do. He's not going to throw for 5 touchdown passes, not with that receiving core. And I think that they're winning games. That's right. When you were a baseball coach, you didn't care if you won the game 1-0 or 12-10, right?
W.
Right.
W and the other team an L.
Right.
And you moved on as who'd you play tomorrow. And you
right.
do the same thing.
Yeah.
And that is what they're doing.
Right.
Whether it's home, away, by 10, by 2, by 1, they're winning games. And other teams are losing games, like the Steelers yesterday.
Right, thank goodness for that.
Let's enjoy it. It's
right.
been a long time, Jeff.
It has been a
you
really
know more
long
than
time.
anyone.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
I mean, I think if the Browns, a realistic record is 10-6. If they would have to win 2 out of 3 at home, and then split those 4 road games, I think that's doable.
I do.
And then they're 10-6. I think that last game of the year in Baltimore is going to be probably for the division. That's my guess.
You know, Jeff, I said it when we were together last time, and I've said this for the last 10 years. Build the defense. And the defense you've got to love. My premonition on that is Baltimore won the Super Bowl and were shut out 4 times during the year they won the Super Bowl. So I'm saying build that defense. They had a remarkable defense. And that's what Dave Patton's done. And you know, they've got some good defensive players on that team. And, I love watching them play defense. And I think that offense is going to just get better and better. And now we've got Josh Gordon coming back next week. So tell me a little bit what you see at practice about what you like mostly about that defense.
Well, you're right. I think the biggest moves they made were basically trading DeQuell Jackson for Carlos Dansby, inside linebacker, and trading T.J. Ward for Dante Whitner. Now, of course, they weren't actual trades, but those are the position changes.
That's what happened, yeah.
And I'll take Dansby any day. I mean, DeQuell Jackson was a great guy, and I'm not going to say anything bad about him, but Dansby makes more plays, more dramatic, game-changing plays, and that's just a fact. And Dante Whitner really has the respect of every guy in that locker room, both sides of the ball, and he plays like it too. You have to do more than talk to be a leader. You have to make plays, and we're seeing that out of both those guys.
No, I couldn't agree more. They are 2 big pickups right there, and it just, I don't know, it's a, you're in the locker room. You know the attitude, the atmosphere. I'm not. I watch on TV. I read in the paper. I read your column. I see something different. And I'm sure every fan in here tonight and watching that game, I don't see the 12 guys on the field 2 times a series.
Yeah, really.
I don't see where's so and so. I don't know, a flag. I don't even see as many flags. I don't know what the numbers are, but the penalties have to be less. They have to be. At least they're less in crucial moments.
Right.
You know, and so something's happening. Something's different. Coach is different. Is that all it is? Same owner, you know, but some key players changed. You mentioned that. I think it's just some little things that are going along a big way in making this a fun year so far.
You know what? I think you hit it there. I think the biggest difference in this team and other ones that we've seen here is Mike Pettin. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give you an example. I think this really resonates with the players. That second preseason game, the Browns are in Washington. National TV game. Now, you know that Jimmy Haslam wanted Johnny Manziel to play that game, get his team this exposure. You know the ESPN wanted to see Johnny Manziel. But Mike Pettin says, Brian Hoyer is my starting quarterback. I'm playing Brian Hoyer. And now that just tells those players who's the boss, and it tells them that Mike Pettin is going to play the best players. Brian Hoyer sure doesn't have that fanfare of Johnny Manziel, but now you tell 53 guys on that team, they don't care where they drafted you, or they don't care what your background is. If you're the best player, you're going to play. And how about Buster Screen starting in place of Justin Gilbert? So now Mike Pettin is not only telling the owner this. Now I don't want to pretend actually that I've heard this conversation.
I know what you're saying.
But even Ray Farmer, the general manager, that Ray Farmer, hey, I drafted this Justin Gilbert number 1, and I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth. But the fact is that when that coach is saying, this is my best player, I'm playing him, and when a guy like Buster Screen, who everybody seems to want to push out the door, can win that job, that tells everybody on that team, okay, I play hard, I win, and I think that's what we're seeing right now of the Browns.
It sets a tone and it sends a very important message. It really does.
It's really inspiring to see that, you've seen a different Paul Kruger this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's
right.
Just been simply,
There's another guy.
I think they're all catching fire. They're really, use the word resonate, off of each other. I think it's, this one's, Joe Hayden was a little maligned early on, but boy, he's having a Pro Bowl year. So now, but
right.
he wasn't.
You're right.
But it's just infectious and just like a snowball rolling down the hill, and that's just going to be, lead to I think, like you said, 10-6, 11-5. We'll see.
I tell you what, 11-5 would be awesome. But Joe Hayden's a good example. And we talked to the Jim O'Neill, a defensive coordinator. He said this system is different than what Hayden had been playing. There's more press coverage, so he had to get used to this. And maybe it was a little uncomfortable at the beginning. And plus, I think he had that foot injury was bothering him more than he let on, because Joe Hayden's too much of a pro to whine. But now, when you look at that Cincinnati game, Andy Dalton had a bad game. But I think a lot of that had to do with the way the Browns secondary played.
It sure did, yeah.
And so I think it's an exciting. It's great. Here, everybody thought by now LeBron would be dominating everything on the sports page, but happily the Browns are taking their share of headlines still.
And that's good for everybody. Good for sports, yeah.
Sure it is. And by the way, the Cavaliers are going to be fine.
There's no question about
People
that.
are acting like it's a 9-game season.
I love it, Jeff. I love it,
All right, we're going to get Sam up here. Sam, you can tap him on the shoulder.
Hey, Sam.
Coach.
Sorry.
Come on up, Coach.
Come on up, and we're going to start bringing up some of the players, too, that are here tonight. As soon as we get to the bottom of the hour, we're going to have to take a break. We want to, there's the guy that, the Happy Moose, when I said we're doing the Brown show, Mr. Salianita said, okay, but please, Sam Ortigliano has to be here. They just love you, Sam, like everybody else. In this
Did my wife call you and tell you that?
Pat Salianitas is ear-to-ear smiling, and I know he got a chance to talk to you a little bit today.
Yep.
And it's so good to see you.
Same here. My pleasure.
Thanks for saying yes. Well, every time we've had a Brown show, Sam has made it, and we try and make it even closer to your home, which is not too far from you.
Right down the street in Wade Hill.
That's right.
But one difference, Coach. Every time we've had a Browns show, you've been with us.
Right.
But today you're with us, and the Browns are in first place.
Yeah, that's
that has got to be a good feeling.
You know what the greatest feeling about that is, that we have basically, prior to this year, lost a generation.
Oh, so true. I've said that.
And right now, it's regenerated. And the one thing that I would like to say is that how Brian Hoyer has done such an incredible job, but most importantly, done a job under unbelievable duress from a lot of people who should be knocking on his door. I'd sign him yesterday.
Well, I know you're a big Brian Hoyer fan, and that has to do with a lot of, and tell our listeners at home what you've seen in him to give you that feeling, because you're a player's coach. So give us your feeling why Brian Hoyer, it could be our quarterback in the future, not Johnny Manziel.
Well, number one, that position is indefinable. Brian was a 13th round draft choice. Joe Montana was a third. Steve Young was a second. Dan Marino was picked 32nd in the year with a big 6 quarterback. Drew Brees was a second. Dan Fouts was a second. So I could go on and on and on. He has 2 things. He sees the defense in slow motion. Most quarterbacks sees the defense like Times Square on New Year's Eve. And a quarterback's like a tea bag. You don't know what you got till you put him in hot water. And that's why this kid has answered all those questions, and he's been in hot water, out of the huddle, in the huddle, and because no one has given him the support except his father.
Wow, yeah.
And that's so true. I mean, and why not? This is what bugs me.
Wouldn't you think right now that he's not a guy that's 32 or 34 years old. He's a young guy.
Sure.
He's going to play the way it's going today. He's going to play another 8 or 10 or 12 years, and I'd sign that guy now.
Yeah, do not wait around. That's right.
Because it's you're talking about Tom Brady, you're talking about Aaron Rodgers, you're talking about Drew Brees, and you're talking about Peyton Manning. Those are the elite quarterbacks. And then you got guys like Roethlisberger and guys like Flacco down the line and Rivers and so forth. But if you look at the 32 teams, there ain't 32 guys that I just mentioned. Mm-hmm. And Hoyer has begun to climb. Can you imagine if we said at the beginning of the year, Hoyer's going to be our quarterback, and in 9 weeks we're going to be 6-3, and we're going to be First
place.
Not looking for a winning season, but looking for the playoffs.
Championship.
Well, come on.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody would have took it. There's no question about it. All right, Sam. All right, they're 6-3 in first place. A lot has got them there. Some of the things, just touch on a couple of things beside Brian Hoyer.
Well, I think that that there are 2 things that are really important. One is turnover ratio. Turnover tells the tale, whether it's high school, college, or the NFL. Turnovers are going to kill you, and we're on the plus side of that. And the other thing that I like about it is that, Joe Hayden, we drafted Gilbert on the first round on the 8th pick, and Screen has refused to give him that job. So now you got 2 shutdown corners. Kruger last year had 4.5 sacks in 16 games. He's got 6 already, and that's helped us a lot. And I really think the acquisition of Whitner and Dansby has given us what we have now, and you got to do it to get it, the winning culture. The winning culture means now, in 1980, there wasn't a game we played, and we were going to play Pittsburgh in a doubleheader. We never thought we were going to lose. We had the winning culture, and I think now we've gained that. Now it's going to be tough for the next 7 games, because now 5 out of 7 of the teams they're going to play are all fighting for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I think it's the winning culture. It's kind of like tonight. All the people that have come up to me and talked about the Browns, and so it's just unbelievable.
Exciting, boy.
It's really exciting.
It really, really is. We've got Sam Ritigliano, we've got Brian Brennan, Robert Jackson, and Greg Pruitt. We're going to get to them all tonight, and we're live here at the Happy Moose, where I'll tell you, Monday nights is $4 appetizers, and they're delicious. What did you have tonight? You ate tonight, Sam. What did you have here?
I had a great hamburger.
There you go. Great hamburger.
Great hamburger.
And Ray, you've had that $4 appetizer.
The $4 chicken strips, is that what you call them? Grilled chicken. It's a meal.
And I had the pulled pork sandwich. That was awesome.
That's another one.
And I tell you what, if you like creamy coleslaw, this is the place to be.
That's right.
It's handmade by Pat Sally and
It was really, really good.
Well, hopefully we made a few people hungry. They're going to stop by
and I
not only
see Steve
these
Newman
great guys,
eating his wings, too.
but the wings, of course, they're well known for. Well, we got lots more coming. This
We're
is
at the
only
bottom of the hour.
first half hour of 4. So we're going to have everybody up here. We're going to ask the crowd to ask some questions if they'd like, and they'll get the answers from the guys who are here and what legends they are in their own right for the Cleveland Browns.
We are Mondays with Malta, Ray Malavic, too. We are Integrity Radio. That is 13:30 a.m. We'll be right back after this short break.
Just arrived. 2014 Chevy Captivas, equipped the way you want them, and Chevy certified for just $18,500. That's right, just $18,500. We got them. Come get them at Pat O'Brien Chevrolet.
You don't need a plumber right now. I mean, that leaky kitchen faucet isn't a big deal. Or that slow tub drain in the guest bathroom. Or that on and off drip behind the refrigerator. Or that garage faucet that you smashed and can't use. You don't need a plumber right now for any of those little things. But when one becomes a big thing, you know you can call Tom Schaefer Plumbing. Because they're honest, experienced, dependable, family-owned, and they live here. Tom Schaefer Plumbing for big and little things. TomSchaeferPlumbing.com.
The last sale of the year is the biggest sale of the year at Pat O'Brien Chevrolet. Save time and money. Over 2,000 new Chevy cars and trucks on sale. Nobody has more or sells more. We got them. Come get them at Pat O'Brien Chevrolet.
Whether you need storage for a month or a lot longer, Security Self-Storage is our community's leader. Convenient, with locations in Willoughby, Wickliffe, Highland Heights, and Westlake. Affordable, with special discounts for customer referrals, military personnel, Chamber of Commerce members, and when you change from a local competitor. Secure, for storing just about anything, and climate-controlled security storage available for documents, vehicles, even wine. Get all the details at securityselfstorageltd.com.
Warm up this season to a hot, fresh cup of the best coffee in town at Biagio's Donuts and Pizzeria. For lunch and dinner, savor single-slice pizza or pizza for the family. Biagio's Donuts and Pizzeria on Vine Street in Eastlake, an East Side tradition. Problem: you've got major yard work to do, so how can you get the equipment you need fast and inexpensive? CCM Rental Menor, the super alternative, has everything for yard work: aerators, thatchers, rollers, spreaders, edgers, tillers, hedge trimmers, and power blowers for planting and digging, or anything else for outdoor yard and home maintenance. Around the house, in the yard, and on the job. It just makes sense and saves dollars. Call CCM Rental Menor first before you buy. Visit ccmrental.com.
Join us for all the NHL action as the Columbus Blue Jackets face off against the Washington Capitals tomorrow at 6:45 right here on the exclusive Northeast Ohio home of Blue Jackets hockey, Integrity Radio, WINT, 1330 AM.
We got entertainment for the whole family. I'm Tim Gorell from the Ohio Department of Veterans Services. If you served on the ground in Iraq between March 2003 and December 2011, the deadline for the Ohio Veterans Bonus is December 31st, 2014. You've earned it. Apply now for the Ohio Veterans Bonus. Call 1-877-OHIO-VET, visit veteransbonus.ohio.gov, or download our mobile app, keyword Ohio Vet.
Sponsored by the Ohio Department of Veterans Services, aired by the OAB in this station.
Mondays with Malta and Ray Malavik too. We're all about the kids. We're all about the kids. We're all about the kids.
Yeah, we are all about the kids. And tonight we got some kids. Well, we got some older kids here tonight. Young at heart, but a little bit older in the age bracket to join me. And I feel more comfortable tonight, by the way, instead of these 10th, 11th, 12th graders we have every Monday. But they're a lot of fun too. And let's also hats off to those who have advanced to round 2 in the high school playoffs. Yeah. Huge step. I mean, everyone says, yeah, but it's 4 more to go. But yeah, but you don't get to those 4 more to go if you don't win last week. So right, exactly. It's big. And so we congratulate our locals. Of course, that's the Menor Cardinals, Willoughby South, the Kirtland Hornets, Mayfield, all playing this week with the right to keep on going and get that elusive state championship. Tonight's program, as always, brought to you in part by D&W Goods with Dan Phillips, the owner-operator. Our good friend just across the way, Jack Borkey from Pepco. Clements Construction, great roofer, did my roof and couldn't be more pleased. Great job, good price, and as Charlie always says, he's the owner that's up on the roof. He's not the guy that shows up on day 1, here's what it's going to cost, and then shows up on day 10 and says, where's my money? He's up there pounding, and that means a lot to the customer. It sure did to me. Matrix Tool and Machine with Rich Wilson, Menor Family Foods, Forenza Stone, and Kramer Printing, the very best in printing of all kinds, but particularly high school programs. There isn't a visiting team that walks into the JTO, whether it's to play Menor or Lake Catholic, that doesn't say, wow, where did you get these from? Because they look like the programs that the Browns use, and they're just second to none. Well, we're joined now by, Jeff's still with us, Jeff Schudel, and, of course, Coach Sam Retigliano, and now Robert Jackson. Robert, good to have you again here, and you look like you could still maybe go a series or two. What do you think?
Maybe one play.
One play? Well, that'd be all right.
A quarterback sneak.
How about the play that gets you into the Super Bowl? That would be a good play to be in, huh?
I would like to say one thing. You
Sure.
can graduate in Mentor and all those great high school teams from this area. So much fun in Northeast Ohio to watch all these great teams. Right. And I want to put a little shout out to Bay Village. First time in the history of Bay that they made the state playoffs, and they won their game last week, so they're advancing second round. So it's a fun time of year, particularly for high school sports.
It sure is, and particularly, as you say, teams that may not have done it before.
Right.
Willoughby South, for instance, very good program. The reason we mention those teams is that's the area we cover, our station. Right. But Willoughby South, for the last 4 or 5 years, have been in the playoffs. They did not advance beyond week 11. Last Friday they did. Right. And that's a huge step. I mean, it's, as you mentioned, we were talking before about the Browns, things are contagious, positively and negatively.
It works both ways.
It sure does. And, you know, when you're all of a sudden knocking on that door, but you're not getting through that door, the next kids are sitting there, the young ones, the 9th, the 10th graders, going, boy, here we are. We're in week 11, but I bet we don't get through the door. Well, now they did.
Well, having coached at Bay for 5 years, I gained a new appreciation for high school sports, the coaches, the commitment that they make to those young men and the time and effort they put in, and to the young men for the effort and the work they put in year-round. And it's great to see that so many people are still playing football and enjoying that sport for what it is, just a great sport.
I covered the Mayfield Maple Heights game on Friday.
Okay.
After coming back from Cincinnati. And I'm telling you what, Mayfield, they got this guy named Andy Isabella. Mm-hmm. Whoa, he is fast. This guy,
lightning.
I mean, I'm telling you, did you see?
Yeah, I had a game earlier.
Man, he is unbelievable. And I'm not sure where he's going to school next year. I don't think he's decided yet. But he is a guy to watch. He is fast.
You know, and you talk about Mayfield, good friend Larry Pinto, the head coach there. They lost their opening game by 1 point. And now they run the table.
They ran the table, yeah. He's a good coach. My daughter works in that system.
Great.
She's an English teacher.
Terrific.
Well, that is a beautiful, that Wildcat
the facility
Stadium.
Now, yeah, they got it all going for them. But they've had good football for a long, long time.
Right.
Well, Robert, let's get back to you. What? First of all, remind our folks, especially the younger ones, what years did you play for the Browns?
1975 through 85.
Okay, 10-year career. College you came from?
Came from Duke University. Okay. Played quarterback there, played a little tight end, and then gravitated to the offensive line, and had a great 11-year career here with the Browns.
He sure did. Coaches while you were here, head coach?
Forrest Gregg's first year was my first year, and then Marty ended up my career, and in between we had a great coach, Sam Retigliano, that coached for quite a few years and had a lot of fun times.
Yeah. 3 good people there, and then obviously you enjoyed your stay here. You were a great player for us. How about this? How about the change? 10 years now. I'm not going back 30 years, okay? 10 years ago, when you started, let's go back when you started. The difference between offensive line play then and now, is there any?
Well, the techniques are still the same. You hear about the zone blocking, and we were a very athletic offensive line that everything we did was zone blocking, angle blocking, and we're very good pass blockers. The difference today is the training. These kids today are bigger than we were when we played. They're stronger. They're faster. High school kids are bigger and stronger than we played.
And that's
Sam's sitting here, and in I'm gonna get it right, but in 1982 or 83, we lost to the Raiders. We went out on the West Coast.
That was the 82 playoff game, you mean?
Out on the West Coast.
Year, yeah.
And we did not have a player that year more than 250-something. If you weighed 260, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, right, we were in the Chubb Club. We had no player more than 259.
Yeah.
And so after that season, we decided we need to get bigger and stronger. So my last year I played at 285, which was big for our offensive linemen. Now 300 small, 320s average. So, but these kids start at such a young age with training, with diet, with nutrition. We didn't eat all day and all. It was totally changed. So.
So basically, like you say, the blocking is blocking. The schemes are the same, but the training, the build-up of the strength, the height, the overall size of the lineman has changed.
Can I just add something really quick on that?
Sure.
Because I've written this about how much bigger they are. Eddie Ulinski. When Eddie Ulinski played guard in the 1940s, in that other first Browns, he was a left guard. He weighed 213 pounds. Can you imagine that? I mean,
unbelievable.
Punt returners don't weigh too much.
No, I mean, now they weigh 120 pounds more.
Well, getting back to the high school scene, there's a kid in Madison. His last name is Glass. And I said, without even thinking, as I'm looking at the pregame notes, Bill Glass, there must be some relation. Well, it is. Bill Glass is his grandpa. I thought,
you're kidding.
And I thought maybe father, but I go, wait a minute, that can't work out. He's a 16-year-old kid. Anyway, are you ready for this? 430 pounds. Now, when I saw it in the program, I said, well, first of all, I got to see this kid. Warm-ups, I'm looking, well, you can't miss it. I mean, some reason he sticks out.
Yeah, right,
and then I go, well, he's also a kid he's fat and he's not going to play and whatever. What was I wrong? This kid can move. Now, he's not a Greg Pruitt, okay? But for 430 pounds, he can move. He blocks. He opened up holes. He's only a 10th grader, so his best is yet to come. But you talk about size.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. It was about week 3, and I can't get him out of my mind. Now they've made it to week 11 playing Mayfield. That's going to be one heck of a game. But yeah, as soon as I saw that name,
430 pounds.
Well, that's what it says in the program. So
wow.
He may be more. Who knows? Yeah. But anyway, where you see that a lot, and I did the South Glenville game this past week. Glenville always has 350, 375. I say something about Glenville every time I call a game. They're big, they're fast, they're athletic, and most of them will play for Ohio State. And that's probably true, at least.
That's true, yeah. They've got a lot of, they've fed Ohio
like
State.
Pipeline,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Without question.
Well, anyway, Robert, what's your feelings right now on the Browns? I mean, I could say you've been here before on this type of show, and for the first time ever, we can say at this week, in this juncture, halfway, whatever you want to call it, Browns are in first place. We haven't been able to say that in quite a while.
Well, it's exciting times. The city of Cleveland really endorses them, and I think everybody's been waiting. Oh, they're going to fall on their face. But every week, Coach Pettin seems to have them ready to play, and this performance against Cincinnati was one of the most dominating performances I've seen by Cleveland Browns team on both sides of the ball, and they were very physical. Yep. And the name of the game in the NFL is protecting the quarterback and pressuring the quarterback. Our defense played a great game. All the investments we've made in the defensive line, they put pressure on. And our offensive line is very good, and we lose Mack, and so it's taken a couple weeks, and the young man who took his place, it's my understanding, for 2 years he didn't take a snap in any game, preseason or anything. So can you imagine not lining up for a live snap for 2 years and being thrown in? So he's getting better, and we've got a great nucleus there. So it's fun to see this team being very physical, which is a new era.
I am hearing in the media sometimes, but mostly the public, the idea of they're still going to fall on their face. Okay, this is really exciting, and man, rah-rah and everything.
Yeah, they've been saying that for 9 weeks.
I was just going to say that. I don't think you guys are going to say that because of what you just said.
Cincinnati was the previous 3 teams won 2 games and lost 23. And then we lost one of those games, and we didn't win effectively in the other 2.
But as you said earlier, we won the game.
Everybody said Cincinnati is the test, and they were the test. And as Robert said, I mean, it was unbelievable. He was 10 for 33, and Greshman, the tight end, and what's his name, the receiver,
A.J. Green.
A.J. Green. I mean, Joe Hayden has ate him up for the last 2 or 3 years that he's been here. And again, I'm going to say the most important thing, boy, the quarterback. I mean, he's just a kid that really has. It's a little too early, but Robert knows Brian Sipe, as a player and personally, and even to this day. He empowered every single guy on our team. I remember we were playing L.A., and I don't know if it was to the right side or left side. He got knocked down and came right back in the huddle, and he said, "My fault, guys. My fault." And so, when you have that, we never felt, whoever we played, that we were going to lose. And now I think we're entering into that area because of winning this one and winning it, making it so important. And then it was very nice of Pittsburgh last night to make sure we were in first place by ourselves.
As we all know, people deal with championships, whether it's on a little league basis, on school, whatever. You got to be good. You got to have talent. You got to have some luck. That combination.
But you gotta have that guy at that position that everybody believes in.
That guy, Sam's comment is so true. That guy makes everybody play better. He makes you overachieve and believe in the guy all around you and become one, and you don't want to let the guy on your left and right down. Right. Brian Seifert is that leader. I don't know Hoyer, but he seems to be bringing the team together, and they're believing it, and they're saying, okay, we're going to win. And I think a lot of it goes to Coach Patton, too, because he has them ready to play. The Jacksonville game, people don't give that defensive line credit enough for in Jacksonville, and they played a good game. But it's fun to see, and obviously the quarterback's a great leader, and he has us playing well.
Yeah, just on that Jacksonville game, I don't think the Browns came out flat in that game. There's a difference between just getting beaten like they were and coming out like you didn't put out any effort. The Browns put out that effort, I thought, in Jacksonville, but the Jaguars were just better that day. And they are a good defense. Jacksonville has the best red zone defense in the league. You wouldn't think about that about a team that's 1-8, but they do. And I don't really understand how that team is only 1-8. And I think Bortles will be okay as a quarterback, but I agree with Robert. They just got beaten in that game, but they came back. They won 5 out of 6 games now, and Hoyer does lift those guys around him. I mean, Taylor Gabriel, Travis Benjamin. Would you think these guys are going to be your star receivers in a game when you don't have Cameron, Hawkins, or Gordon? But they made plays at the right time.
They stepped up. Well, Charlie, we're going to feature some of the people in the audience here. And Charlie, you got somebody who wants to ask a question of one of the panelists right now?
I do, and his name is Benjamin Fidel. Benjamin, where do you go to school?
Geneva.
So it's kind of a long way. Have you been in that new Spire Institute out there?
Yes.
That's some facility, huh? Well, okay, Benjamin, here's the microphone. It's all yours. Take it away.
I have 2 questions for Coach Sam.
Okay.
How far do you think this current Browns team will go?
I think that, with the 7 games left, there's going to be 4 or 5 teams that are going to be heavily involved because they want to get into the playoffs. I think that this week we're playing Houston, play it 1 game at a time. I think right now after Cincinnati, which was a tremendous test, they did a great job, and I look for them right now to make the playoffs. Maybe go 10-6 or 9-7 could do it.
And my second question is, what did you say to your players when they're down and they're losing? What would you say to them to get them motivated?
Well, encouragement is the oxygen of the soul. It's at that time where coaching really comes into play. And so, if we had a game that we didn't play as well as we needed to, I had selective amnesia, which meant I put it, once I found out what we did and talked to the players about it, but I always encouraged, never discouraged.
Thank you.
Just like your mom and dad do for you, my friend.
Okay. And thank you. 2 good questions.
I remember a game like that. We were out in Seattle, and it was not a good result. It was 33. Now, that's a game that Clay broke his ankle.
That's right.
And I remember you talking about throwing the film out the window at 30,000 feet. So.
But, when we lost late in the game to Minnesota, and we would have been in the playoffs, I thought Art Modell and the general manager, Peter Hadhazy, when we got to 35,000 feet, were going to jump out of the plane. They didn't talk to me the whole week.
But they sure did after we beat Cincinnati that next week, too.
Oh, boy.
Things
That was
change.
unbelievable, Robert.
Things do change, yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's great. Charlie, I know we're going to do some more of that as we go on, but right now we're getting close. Are we getting close? No, we've got plenty of time till the top of the hour, so how about we bring up another player, huh? Join our group. Robert, you're welcome to stay, really. We'll bring Greg up, and you chop in, too. More the better. This is your guys' show. We're just kind of like leading along here, that's all. We got a hand mic, or? Okay.
He's next. Don't worry.
We're all going to get on. We got another. We go till 9 o'clock and later here. We don't worry about the time limit. And welcome to our panel again, one of the premier running backs in Cleveland Browns history, and that's Greg Pruitt. Greg, good to see you here again tonight.
Hey, good to be here.
We've got a great show going again, like we always have when you guys are here. And let's start off with the younger listeners who are listening, and they've heard about Greg Pruitt. Maybe they get a chance to see you play. Let them know how many or when you played for the Cleveland Browns, and then went on to play for another team, I believe.
Yeah.
And let's start with that. Your pro career.
Well, I was a 30th pick in 1973, which was the first pick in the second round at the time. I guess it was the last pick in the first round today. And I came here as a kick returner running back, played 9 years with the Browns, and traded to the Raiders, played 3 years, and was fortunate to play a Super Bowl with the Raiders, and a total of 12 years.
Wow, 12-year career. And, of course, you came from Oklahoma?
University of Oklahoma. Yeah.
And played for which head coach there?
Well,
is it Barry Switzer?
No, everybody makes that mistake.
Yeah,
it was,
like I just did.
it was
Chuck Fairbanks.
Chuck Fairbanks and Switzer was the offense coordinator.
Okay, all right. So you did work with him, yeah. Well, and the question we've been asking, you've been here before. We've talked about the Browns at that point in the season, about halfway. Now we're talking about them in a whole different spot because they're in first place.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, I'm excited for them. I think that most fans would agree that when we first looked at the schedule, we thought we were going to have another one of those years. But the Browns, believe it or not, I don't think we've seen the best. They've managed to do quite a bit, and I've always said you're only as good as the 11 guys you put out there. And we've not seen the 11 best guys that they can put out there for being suspended or injuries or whatever.
Part of the game.
But they've hung in there, and guys that we've never heard of, that we probably wouldn't even have drafted, has managed to come forth, and that's what you want. You want depth at those positions. They've shown that depth. I'm an old school guy in terms of Hoyer. You can't lose your job to injury, and I hear this all the time. Manziel and Hoyer, Manziel and Hoyer, and I think that we got our best chances with Hoyer right now. I think we have a better idea of what we get from him, and so we have to keep trying to support him. And if you do that, he'll manage the game. He doesn't seem to be a guy that's out there guessing. Mm-hmm. He seems to be a guy that knows what he wants to do with the football. And so although you have great potential in Johnny Manziel, potential is undiscovered reality. And he'll get his chance, and hopefully they won't be wrong with him. But right now, they're turning things around, and they're getting back to being a healthy team. Chemistry is something that you can't get in practice. You can only get it in the game, and people don't understand that a couple things have to happen to be successful. One is you have to keep your 11 best guys healthy. You have to be lucky enough that you don't have injury. You got to get your share of breaks during the course of a game. And people don't understand that we got a young team, we got young coaches, and we got a young administrative office. So they're all learning.
Right.
And so, as I watch the games, and me and Rob, we played the game, and Sam coached the game so long, some of the things that happen in the game is just automatic. And then when you sit back and they don't happen the way you think they should, you say, why are they doing that? Because I'm an avid believer that when you have yourself in a position to win a football game and you got the ball, yes, you would love to run the ball out, get first downs, even score if you have two and the other team never reaches the ball. But somewhere that may not happen. And you got to think that if I got to give it back to them, what's the score and how many times do they have to score, and how do I make it as tough as possible for that other team? And we made mistakes twice this year on that. Right. Actually 3 times, and one we didn't pay for. The other 2 times we did pay for. But it's a learning thing. It's always been amazing to me in terms of for football players, and Coach would notice, you can tell your players and tell your players and tell your players, and then you play a game, you get it on film, and then you show it to them. It's completely different, and that's
to them it may not be until they see.
But that's just the way it is, and I tell people all the time that going back to Hoyer and Manziel, it takes a long time to be a quarterback in this league, and I remember firsthand that when I came as a rookie, how difficult it was for me just to learn what I do.
That's right.
As a running back. The quarterback got to know what I do, the linemen do, the receivers do, and not only he got to tell them what to do every down.
And then do it.
And so we really have got lucky with him, I think. I think that when you look at all other quarterbacks in the past, we brought them in with the potential as a college player, and we've thrown them straight to the fire. And then you hurt their confidence. They know some never recover from it. But Hoyer is the one guy in all the years that played behind somebody, and he's learned the game. And so my advice to Manziel is to pay a little bit more attention that I see during the games, because he got a great guy that can teach him the game. And if he is a little faster and his arm is a little stronger, then when his knowledge reaches what Hoyer's reaches, then he can compete for the job.
Next man up.
But if you put it in the wrong place at the wrong time, you got to pay that price too.
I want to ask him a question.
Some great insight there, Coach.
It was great. Excellent. What do you think about West, Crowell, and Tate
I was just going to ask you a question. Yeah.
3 times in every game?
Well, most people are going to say because he wears 34 that I would be favored to him. But if it was 30, I think that in terms of there's an it factor for running backs, and I think that injuries hurt the line because you go back to zero in terms of chemistry on the offensive line. But I also know that linemen can make backs look good, but also backs can make linemen look good too. And so when you start having problems, East and West is only the direction you take to get north. The great backs are going to get north. And if they go east and west, they're trying to get back north. And then if I look at each player, I think that Tate is a guy that's more physical. He's not as fast. He's not as quick. So he has to pound on guys. I think that West is a little bit more elusive, but he probably goes east and west more than he should. He got to understand situation. When it's 3rd and 1, we don't need the 360-degree turn. You need to hit the hole. And Crowell is a young guy that seems to have that get north and south every chance he can. And he amazes me how he goes into a pile and he gets real low, then all of a sudden he explodes for like 3 or 4 yards. So you're gonna fumble the ball. Jim Brown was the greatest. He fumbled it. Earl Campbell was a great one. He fumbled it. You can learn how not to fumble the ball. They tackle the ball more now than when we play. But that's something that you learn and something you're going to have to trust him to do. I think they got a great thing going with those backs, but they got to find the right combination for the right situation to have the right guy in the game.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you then, Greg. I mean, can you get into a rhythm if you're sharing that time with 2 backs, or do you think just going with 2 guys is a better way to go?
Well, I don't know what that minimum number of carries is, but I do think that you have to be in the game long enough to feel the pulse of the defense. Some defenses over pursue, some defenses give up containment, some defenses give you the line of scrimmage, and you have to do all of those things, run the ball or stay in the game long enough to feel that, to become in a position to take advantage of it. So in that case, you got to.
Jeff, you can't I mean, I've seen O.J. Simpson, when I was with the Patriots. He was at Buffalo. He had 26 yards in the first half. And if you're going 20, 22, 24 times, it's never 7 or 8 yards. It's, it could be 14 yards in the first quarter, and then maybe 24 at the half. Then, boom, there's a 70-yarder, boom, there's a 60, and you got to be in the game to get that feeling. So I think 3 backs is too much.
Yeah. Oh, well, 3 is too. Yeah, I think 3 is too much.
Well, we'll come back on that.
Blitz pickup.
Oh, that's another thing too. That's key to your quarterback. You got to pick up the blitzes. And West did a great job. And when he did it, it was a play that gave him just enough time that resulted in a touchdown.
Especially for a rookie.
And Robert, how about for you, blocking for guys with different running styles? Do you know who's in the? Would you know who's in the game? And of course you know who's in the game, but I mean, do you block differently for different backs?
As a lineman, we're blocking the same. We expect the back to
make
the back is going to read what we're doing and break off that. So that's the job of the coach to teach them what they're looking for and to see it.
But now on the other hand, as a back, you run certain plays. It might be a reach block. It might not be that guy's best block. And as a back, you got to help him. So you stay inside to make that defensive end stay inside a little longer to help him reach it.
Okay,
so
I got to interrupt. Otherwise, we won't have our last hour. How's that? And I want our last hour.
Yeah.
So hang in there. We got Brian Brennan coming up. Everybody else is sticking around. Great show. Come on down, see the legends of Browns history here, and we got a bunch of them on Integrity Radio, 1330 AM, and on the internet at WELW.com.
Marshall Superstore is now Nick Mayer's Marshall Superstore and is still the place to go to find a super selection of new Fords and Lincolns, all at honest, friendly prices, no matter whether you're thinking of buying or leasing. For more than 70 years, Marshall Superstore has been satisfying the automotive needs of Northeast Ohioans. So this year, drive with pride in a made-in-America automobile from family-owned Nick Mayer's Marshall Superstore at the Big Corner, Mayfield and I-271.
Moms and dads need sleep too. This is Robin Trzynski of the Original Mattress Factory, and studies typically focus on how much sleep kids need for their overall health and well-being. Rarely do they mention how important it is for parents to receive sufficient quality sleep as well. In reality, moms and dads need about 7 to 8 hours of sleep each and every night. This is usually quite a feat for most parents, especially those with small children who need a lot of attention during the night or have a tendency to somehow migrate to their parents' bed. If you are in this situation, one solution might be to get your child their first big kid bed. Regardless of what size you choose, investing in a new bed will pay off for both you and your child. They will be excited about this new first in their life and actually want to spend the night in their own room. And you will be allowed to sleep without interruption the whole night through. So stop in an Original Mattress near you and pick out a new bed for all the big kids in your life, whatever their age may be.
You're listening to Integrity Radio, WINT, Willoughby, Cleveland.
Unwind, relax, and have fun with family and friends at the Players Club at Lost Nation Sports Park. Come out for lunch, dinner, or grab a bite before or after your soccer, baseball, basketball, volleyball, or golf game. The Players Club features 6,000 square feet with 3 full bars, including 18 taps and a beautiful outdoor patio, cable coverage for sporting events, Golden Tee Live, and an internet jukebox for your music taste. The Players Club at Lost Nation Sports Park. Visit lnsportspark.com.
I'm here with Dave Holtz, owner of Mentor's new Point Blank Range and Gun Shop. Congratulations, Dave. Point Blank is finally open.
Yeah, people can now use our state-of-the-art indoor shooting range 7 days a week.
Who, for instance?
Anyone interested in shooting, from beginners to experts, all supervised by our certified range safety officers.
Hey, do you offer classes at Point Blank?
Definitely. For beginners, ladies only, advanced, and others, our mission is to promote the safe, responsible, and proficient use of firearms.
Visit Point Blank Range and Gun Shop, now open at 5957 Heisley Road in Mentor, or shootpointblank.com.
WINT conducts various contests that offer various prizes for its listeners. By participating in a contest, you are agreeing to be bound by the official contest rules. No purchase necessary. Participants and winners must be U.S. residents at least 18 years old and reside in the station's total survey area. Unless otherwise stated, only one entry per person and one prize per household for the contest within a 60-day period. Employees and immediate family members of contest sponsors, the station, or any of their affiliated companies are not eligible. Additional rules apply. For complete contest rules, visit the station during regular business hours or WINTradio.com.
Mondays with Malta and Ray Malavik too. We're all about the kids. We're all about the kids. We're all about the kids.
Yeah, we all are about the kids, but tonight we just have kids, a little older kids, that's all. But all kids at heart, especially when you're playing sports. And right now, an exciting time in Cleveland with the Cleveland Browns in first place. This show is brought to you in part by D&W Goods, by our good friend who's here tonight, Jack Forkey with Pepco. Clements Construction, Mike Clements is the owner there. Matrix Tool and Machine with Rich Wilson. P.J. Conway, the little guy in the big food business, and that's with Mentor Family Foods on Lakeshore Boulevard in Mentor. Forenza Stone with the owner-operator Mike Fimiani. And, of course, Kramer Printing, Lenny Kramer, the very best in football programs for the area. And as Charlie always mentions, and rightfully so, when people come into the JTO, either to watch Mentor play or Lake Catholic, and they're the visiting team, they're coming from Youngstown, Cincinnati, wherever, they buy that program, the first thing they say is, who does this? I mean, this is like the Browns program. Well, it is. And so if you need any printing needs, please contact Lenny Kramer. Well, we've had Greg Pruitt. He's sticking with us. So Sam is still here, Coach Rutigliano. We got people taking pictures with the coach. Sure. Good-looking ladies and Coach Sam. That's a good combination. That's a good combination.
That's called a granddaughter.
There you go. And we're joined by another great Cleveland Brown from past years and still active and as a talk show host, and he puts in his comments with various radio stations about the Browns, and that's Brian Brennan. Brian, welcome to our show.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here, and let's start like we've done with all our players, for especially the younger listeners. Let's tell them, first of all, your college career, where it was, and then how you got to the Browns and how long you played in the NFL.
I went to Boston College with a great quarterback by the name of Doug Flutie, and then I was fortunate enough to come here and have Bernie Kosar as my quarterback.
You did pretty good in the quarterback department.
Did, right? Yeah, I selected well. But I played 9 years for the Cleveland Browns. I caught a number of passes. I still reside in Cleveland. My kids went to Gilmore Academy, and my kids now are graduates of Boston College, Michigan State, and Bucknell. So we're doing well. We reside in Pepper Pike, and I've enjoyed my time after the Cleveland Browns staying here in Cleveland, Ohio.
I had a chance. I coached for 30 years at Wycliffe, but then when I retired, I went over to Gilmore for a little softball stint, and I had a great time there. Great place to go to school and coach, and now I do a couple of their games on radio. I happen to do the game they got clobbered in by a team called Loudonville. Yeah, it was Loudonville, right? Well, the first quarter was 30-0, and Gilmore at the time was like a 7-1 team. So you never know. And anyway, we talk about Kirtland. That's going to be a matchup.
I think Dick Shafrock played at Loudonville.
Is that right?
I think so.
Wow, that'd be a nice trivia question. Okay,
he's got a nice livery down there.
Yeah,
livery, right?
Whatever. Sure. But and now you do some talk show stuff. You call in reports, or you're on some of that Sunday morning stuff, aren't you?
WTAM, a competing radio show, maybe yours. But yes, I've been doing that for a number of years. It's
and how's that going? I know you sound great on there.
You're very kind. I agree with you. I agree.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I enjoy the hobby of the Cleveland Browns, and I'm really enjoying the success of the Cleveland Browns.
Well, that's my next point. No. How do you feel right now? Obviously, you always have a smile on your face. Even when you played, sometimes I saw it. But the bottom line is, what's going on? I mean, you got to feel good about it.
Well,
about the city and everything else.
My father used to say it takes effort to have a frown. It takes effort to be unhappy. It's easy to be happy. Let's just start with that. But I like what the Cleveland Browns are doing. I like the coach, the determination of the coach, and I like the players on the team. I really like Brian Hoyer very much so. I think he's done a nice job. If I was in the front office, I would certainly look to extend his contract.
We've heard that from other people tonight.
All of the obstacles he's overcome.
Yes.
But the Browns are doing really well. The AFC North is a very, very competitive division, and they're in the lead there. How do you argue that? The defense was highly touted. They haven't played it particularly well until these last 3 or 4 games. So how do you argue that the offense has held in there and scored a lot of points and they've been meaningful? So I like where the Cleveland Browns are. Since 1999, since they've come back, I know Robert's been a season ticket holder, Sam, myself. We support the team. The former players support this team. We want them to be successful, and they just haven't. And this is the first coach that I've seen that has the determination, the habits, and the discipline to provide the things you need in the NFL to be successful. It's the first time I've seen that since 1999. There's no excuses with this coach. We didn't play well enough. The coaches didn't prepare well enough. These things. I haven't heard it from other coaches. So I'm excited about the progression of the team. So that's where I'm at with that.
Well, you said one word, and I know Sam will agree, and I'm sure the others. Discipline.
Yep.
Yes.
Discipline. I'm a retired high school teacher, high school coach. The coaches today coach differently than I did in 1969 and 70. Okay. The kids, though, they're pretty much the same. They want that discipline. Now they may tell you they don't or this and that,
right.
But they want it. They want to know what's going on here. You're the coach. You tell us what to do. I mean, now, young coaches out there listening, oh, that's Ray's. He coached in the 60s, 70s. What does he know, right?
He knows a lot.
Thank you. I mean, you know what?
I bet you're a good parent, too.
Well, I try to be, but because they go hand in hand, naturally.
Well, discipline's another form of attention, my father used to say.
Yeah.
And I knew what that meant back when I was growing up. Discipline is another form of attention. And sometimes these coaches try to fit in and be part of the team. You're not their friend, you're their coach. I'm not the friend of my little division. I'm their boss, and that's how you got to really feel in order to get the ship headed in the right direction.
Well, we asked Robert about the current offensive lineman, Greg about the 3 running backs, whatever. Now the receiver we're talking to. What do you see? What do you see out there in the receiving corps? Obviously, some names that we never thought we would be hearing on Sundays.
I see a quarterback that makes the receivers look better than maybe they really are.
Okay.
Travis Benjamin, for example, I think he has talent. The other guy, Taylor Gabriel's a rookie. And then you have Andre Hawkins, which I think is I think he has some talent to get open in the middle of the field. But Brian Hoyer, I think, makes them as he throws the ball on time. He doesn't wait. He has a good pre-snap read, post-snap read, and he gets the ball to where he needs to get it on time, something we haven't seen in a long time. That really helps the receiver. I remember when I was a rookie, Paul Warfield taught me to be patient with my routes. I think Coach Sam had him talk to me because I was a little impatient. Webster Slaughter was a little impatient. It takes time to learn those things. But I think a quarterback like Brian Hoyer has brought out the best in this receiver corps, more than people give him credit for. I think he's done a lot of nice things at that quarterback position to get us to the position that we're in. So that's how I see it. Now, if I'm Greg Pruitt sitting here, I see a great running back crew. If it was me as the offensive coordinator, I would put Isaiah Crowell in more often than I see him on the field. I think he's a dynamic and explosive player. Now, Coach Sam may say he's left the ball on the ground a little bit too much to his liking, but I think he's got periphery like Greg Pruitt has. You got Mike Pruitt who can go north and south, but you got Greg Pruitt and Isaiah Crowell who sees more of the field. That's how I see it from my vantage point.
Mm-hmm. A good perspective. And from a different position.
And now you got an offensive lineman here, Robert Jackson, who's got all the money.
And he's the biggest guy. So
and he's got all the money and all the smarts. Let's go with that.
The difference between Greg and Mike ran with his eyes closed. He run right into you. Greg saw the hole.
That's a good point.
What do you think, Greg? What do you think about the 3 backs? I'm curious what you think.
Oh, I like Crowell. I think he is the better of the 3.
That's interesting.
It's an it factor. It's something that you don't teach. He comes in with it. And, the put the ball on the ground is concern for a lot of coaches. But I think you just learn one way. You learn by putting him out there, and he'll learn how to put the ball on the ground.
Did you ever put the ball on the ground, Greg, in your rookie year?
Oh, you did.
Did they stay with you or they put you on the bench?
Well, I used to always carry the ball. I don't know if I can get away with it, but I used to carry the ball because I used to always carry the ball like this. Even when I was in college, they would film me and then bring me in on film day instead of showing the game. They would show me carrying the ball. and they would say, quit carrying the ball like that. And it was a habit that I had to break, but I put it out there, and guys, and then I'd bring it in. It was almost like bait when you're fishing, you know. So,
it's out there, but then you get it close.
Yeah, when you get close, you know you're going. A back knows when he's going to get hit. And you know if you can have contact, you got to protect the ball.
Brian, Gordon's going to be coming back. How is that going to impact this team? He's been out for a while, but overall, what are your thoughts on that?
It's a huge impact. They don't have anybody that can make that big play in traffic, and they don't have anybody that has proven to me that they're able to stretch the defense in consistent fashion. So I think he's going to be a really nice resource for Brian Hoyer to have. They have this guy that's big and physical, Austin Miles, but I'm faster than he is. I can get open and make the same plays that he can make. It's just the time has passed by with Austin Miles. Is it Miles Austin, I guess? What's his name?
Miles Austin.
Miles Austin, right? So a guy like Gordon can really stretch the defense, make big plays, and give Brian Hoyer the confidence to throw the ball downfield in a consistent fashion. This offensive coordinator, he's done a nice job. But with Josh Gordon back, Robert, he's going to even have more resources and be more creative and stretch the defense better than they've been able to do. That's my thought. Sam?
Right. You got to have a home run hitter. I just hope that Gordon is in good shape. You know, you're talking about a guy that was 1,686 yards. 11 touchdowns.
Better than any receiver in the NFL last year.
10 games.
Over 87
in a
catches.
limited number of
He didn't play the first 2 games last year.
14.
Now, if he comes back in shape and he's got that home run hitter, then see, right now they can take our pass offense and just kind of get an accordion and squeeze it down, because we're making it right now. Every single time that we run the ball effectively, like last week, 171 yards, Sid Gilman used to say that they have a play action means that it freezes the linebackers. And now there's a void between the vertical depth of the linebackers and the secondary, and it holds them on the line of scrimmage. And Brian Hoyer has lived by that in the games that they've won.
2 questions of former, or one current player and one former. You mentioned Paul Warfield, one of the greatest of all times. You mentioned some other players. How about a player that goes down in the history of the Cleveland Browns as having maybe the biggest big game ever, and that was the championship game in '64, Gary Collins.
Gary Collins.
Have you ever had any conversations or talks with him?
I am so privileged to have worn the number 86. You had Dante Glue Fingers Lavelli when they changed the numbers from 56 to 86. Then you had Gary Collins. And then when I found out about the history of that number and Gary Collins and Glue Fingers Lavelli, I wore it with pride.
Yeah.
So, yes, I did know Gary Collins. I sat next to him. And interestingly enough, he thought that punting the ball, he was more proud of his punting ability than his receiving ability, because he was the punter, right, Sam?
Yes.
He talked to me about how much he took pride in being an all-pro punter more so than an all-pro receiver. It was the damnedest thing, because everybody wants to be in the end zone, not him. I don't know what he did after football, Gary Collins. Was he a professor or something? He reminded me of one.
Yeah, he was a great player. No question about it.
And again, big players play big in big games.
Yeah, well, that's the key.
It's not surprising because they're that type of guy.
Right.
We got a question? Good. We've been asking some of our fans that are live here with us to ask anybody a question.
And I guarantee this question, only 2 people here know it. It's Greg Pruitt and his lovely friend to my right. This is a fine firefighter in Euclid, Kevin Padden. We think about those who serve in the Veterans Day tomorrow, and a tip of our hat, and thank all our veterans that made this country as free as it is, and we're very, very lucky. Kevin has 2 questions for Greg Pruitt.
Thank you. Greg, 2 questions. First one, who was the toughest linebacker you ever ran against?
Toughest linebacker I ran, I would say it would be 2. It'd be Gerald Lyons and Tom Jackson. Tom Jackson was not a big linebacker, but he could get down and stay with you more so than the others. And Gerald Lyons was just so physical. I used to, every time you vote for a player for a Pro Bowl, I would vote for Gerald. And then Gerald came to Cleveland, and I still voted for it. He was a very physical guy. A nice guy, but very physical.
Okay. Good. Next one. Whoop. Glenn's got it.
And the second question, you might know where this comes from, but I heard you had a nickname amongst your players while you were a Browns player. Would you like to share that with us?
Well, that came from Jim Garrett, the running back coach. He called me King. I don't know why he did that, but they would call me King. Robert calls me King today.
Because of his Blu-ray prowess. Great card game.
Frank's gonna.
Blu-ray is.
Frank in the audience.
Maybe stay out there. Nobody knows what Blu-ray is.
Is that a little better?
No, up where you had the young man. You know,
okay, over here. We got to get out of Steve talking.
There you
out
go.
of the
That's
line.
better. That's
We've
good.
got Frank's going to ask Brian Brennan a question.
I'm his adopted father.
Oh, okay.
So all
Older
right.
brother.
We're going to take a lottery poll here. How many houses have you goddamn lived in since you've been to Cleveland?
The family show. This, Frank. First of all, this is a family show. My wife and I like to check out different communities, Sam. We never knew, we're head of the tax collector.
Well, what is the answer?
Well, ask my insurance agent next to me, Robert Jackson.
Okay, you would know.
Jackson Deacon and Associates. my
Robert, how
insurance
many do you
agent for-
insure?
At least 5.
Well, none have burned down, so we got several right now.
Thanks, Frank. On the same question that Kevin asked, let's ask first Brian and then Robert, who is the toughest they ever lined up against? And I'm sure there was a corner or two that gave you fits, and Robert, a defensive lineman that gave you fits. Go ahead, Brian, first.
Well, the two I played with every week in practice, Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield, made me better.
Pretty
Frank
good
Minifield and I really didn't like each other very much, so we'd get in, arguments, let's call it, on the practice field every day. But Rod Woodson, the Pittsburgh Steeler, great All-Pro. I think he's one of the best players ever at the position, cornerback, and then I guess he converted to free safety. So he gave me fits. He was just so athletic. Deion Sanders comes to mind. I played against him. He was a great player. There's a guy in the Houston Oilers, the old Houston Oilers, Chris Dishman, Mike Haynes, who had such a long wingspan. He was a great Oakland Raider and Kansas City Chief. So those players are the first to come to mind for me.
As an offensive guard, there are two guys named Joe. Joe Green, great player, played him a lot of times, twice a year. And the other guy that was as good as anybody ever, that was a great guy, fun guy to play against, Joe Klecko, New York Jets. His career was cut short, but I think you could ask all the interior linemen for the Browns. Joe Klecko was a bad boy.
Man, Robert Jackson's old. Joe Green, he's bringing up Joe Green. That's an old time ago, Robert Jackson.
Brian, was it true that Mike Haynes had everything, all that glue all over his hands and body?
That was Lester Hayes.
Oh,
that was Lester Hayes. Yeah, he was scary too.
Yeah.
He was he told me he was going to rip my eyeballs out. That was I was looking forward to that matchup. That was fun.
Hey, Greg, how about you? Did you play against Jack Lambert?
Yeah, I played against Jack Lambert. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We both thought you had mentioned Jack Lambert when we asked the toughest you ever played against.
Well, I thought Pittsburgh was more scared of me than I was of them. That's how you got to go in thinking.
I like that.
How about Sam? Sam, what was today's contemporary coaches? Who are the top 3 coaches in your opinion? For me, I would love to play for Carroll out in Seattle. It just seems really animated and just.
Bum Phillips.
Who are the best coaches today? Yeah.
Oh, you have to, the guy in New England, without question.
Belichick.
And it's kind of tough because I would say probably the guy at Green Bay.
McCarthy, yeah, right. He's in his 11th year at Green Bay, yeah. Pete Carroll. John Fox?
Too early.
Tom Coughlin? Too early?
Tom Coughlin, he had the 2 Super Bowls, which they won.
Marv Levy?
Marv Levy was an interesting guy. When I was at the Patriots, I interviewed for the head coaching job at Canada, and he got the job, and then we both got jobs. He became the head coach of Kansas City. I became the head coach of Cleveland, and then I turned down the Buffalo job when he took it. And he won 4 Super Bowls.
Lost all 4.
And into the Hall of Fame. I saw him this year. I think he's 87 years old, and he looks great.
Great.
He's a great coach. Real smart guy, too.
Does Brian Hoyer remind you of Brian Sipe?
No, without question. I mean, he's 9-3, and Brian, was, after 78, we were 8-8, and 79, we were 9-7. Then 80, we were 11-5, and we beat Pittsburgh after they had won it all in 78 and 79. Best football team in the world.
Does losing Alex matter?
Deacon says there's a big difference between Sipe and Hoyer. Hoyer throws spirals.
Rather than ducks.
It would take Doug to say that.
Hey, Greg, you know what, Robert? I called, as you remember, before I had the job. Before I came, I called every single player, and Brian Sipe was the first guy that I called, and he said to me 2 things. He said, "My arm is sufficient," and I want 5 condominiums up in front of me. He knew where his bread was buttered. How many times did he take you guys out to dinner? How many times would he take you guys out to dinner?
Oh, he took us dinner all the time. He bought us boots. He bought us suits. He knew to take care of his offensive linemen, and we had one job: keep Brian Sipe untouched. The guy had more concussions than anybody on the field today. His career 6 severe ones, and we would get him through possessions. He'd say, "Call the plays. I'm not going out." He was the toughest, greatest leader ever, and our job was to keep him protected.
How many times, Robert, would he say to the defense and to the offense with about 4 or 5 minutes to go, just keep it close? Keep it close. And remember, we were playing Green Bay, and we had to have a touchdown. We were on a 50-yard line, and we had to score a touchdown to win. And it was 3rd down or something. I forget what the down was. And then he and Logan changed because he saw a guy out there covering Logan. It looked like a blitz. And the corner was 5'11", and Logan was 6'5". Made it right. Touchdown. We won the game.
Brian,
he did that a lot.
Brian was pretty amazing. And he would say, "Guys, give me 1 extra second this play, and I'm going to make that play." But one of the greatest components of that team, the Cardiac Kids, was Greg, and we laugh about this because Greg would be in the backfield. He was called the king because he was in charge, and he'd tell that linebacker we ran a halfback option, and Greg would circle out, and if that halfback went here, Greg went there. If he went there, he went there, and Brian would hold the ball, and we called a halfback option. Yeah. And Greg, what would you tell the linebacker before the play?
Well, you know the mentality of a linebacker. First of all, that you have the nerve to tell them what you're going to do, so they're already upset. I was actually trying to get the big play. The big play was to make them try to jam you, and then you run the fade. But I would tell them because once I told them, now they're trying to outsmart me. Now they're trying to make me go one way or another, which Brian saw that right away. So it was just... You couldn't stop the play.
Greg would say, "I'm coming at you, and you're not going to stop me," and they didn't.
Well, we had in 1980 we had 5 guys go 50+ receptions. No one's ever been able to do that.
Yeah. Are those you got a Super Bowl ring on you there, Greg?
No, there's high school, college Hall of Fame, right?
But you got a Super Bowl ring out in Oakland, right? Or yeah. It's interesting, you got all these old guys, and then you got me here, but also...
Hey, you say your dad tell you a lot of things. I'm going to say this to you. My grandma used to always say, keep saying good morning and Merry Christmas. And that won't be snow on the top of your head one day.
I got gray hair, that's true. Good point. It's amazing with Alex Mack out, Robert, or Greg, or Coach, how the offense changed in those 2 weeks where 3 weeks we couldn't run the ball. How does that happen, Robert?
Well, we talked to this a little bit earlier. The gentleman who came in, he hadn't taken a snap for 2 years. And for the offensive line, the first week we switched several guys around. Greco went to center.
From his other position.
And then we had 2 out of position. Then they realized you're better off just one guy on a position.
That's
And that gentleman in the center got some reps in practice, and now he's playing better every week. He hadn't taken a snap for 2 years anywhere. And now all of a sudden they're gelling. You're seeing them getting better and better, and they'll continue to get better.
Yeah, Robert, tell them that center is virtually a quarterback on the line of scrimmage. About picking up blitzes.
Smart player on the line. Smartest player on the line.
Listen to him.
Well, the center is making the calls, protection calls from the quarterback and the center. Relay into the running backs, who's going to pick up who, to the tight ends, to the receivers, who's hot.
Well, Deacon always told me to help him.
Yeah, Deacon always wanted help.
No matter what happens.
Elvin Buffet, he wanted chip. But in essence, the center's telling who the middle linebacker is, so it's telling everybody else. Back, you block in here, receivers over here, if they come, you're hot. So it sets a whole
You ever play
precedent.
center? You ever play center?
I did in college for a couple weeks.
But not in the pros? You could have called.
I was a third-team center.
Robert, I have to tell them one thing. I was at the Denver Broncos coaching in the Senior Bowl, and Doug Deacon was in the Senior Bowl, a tight end from Illinois. Now, when I got back to Cleveland, he was the third left tackle in the history of the Cleveland Browns, and he blamed me coaching him at the Senior Bowl from going to tight end from tackle.
That is funny. Can the Browns make the playoffs?
Wait, hold that thought.
Yep, hold that thought. No.
We got 30 more minutes. We are at the bottom of the hour. We have to break. I hope you guys can stay a little bit longer. And that's the first question that's going to be asked. Can they make the playoffs? We're going to go around and get a couple last thoughts. This has been great. 2 hours of radio. We've got 30 more minutes. We are Mondays with Malta, Ray Malavik 2. We are Integrity Radio, WINT Radio, 1330 AM.
Just arrived, 2014 Malibu LTZs on sale for just $19,500. These Malibus are leather and loaded with power equipment for just $19,500. We got them. Come get them at Pat O'Brien Chevrolet.
Okay, so I'm sitting in this comfy chair, and this guy's hand is in my mouth. And my first thought is, I hope he doesn't find something that's going to hurt. And then I think, what on earth possesses someone to put his hand in everyone's mouth? Well, knowing Dr. Stephen Carasello, it's simple. He chose a career that helps people, not just giving them a nice smile, but he knows that a healthy mouth keeps the whole body healthy. Simply put, Dr. Carasello cares. Visit CaraselloDDS.com.
Don't you just love the fall in Northeast Ohio? Sunshine skies, gorgeous leaves, cool nights, and then, bam! Winter snowstorms. Be smart. You don't need to clear snow anymore, and don't risk being stuck in your house or inaccessible to visitors or safety vehicles. Call George Ward about their affordable snowplow packages. George and his crew are reliable and honest. With Ward's, you stop working and stop worrying. Call 440-942-1912. No work, no worries. Ward's.
Some people say the eyes are the window to the soul. One more reason to really take care of your eyes. Do you have any idea how many eyes see more clearly because of the professionals at Erie Optical? Since 1962, optometrist Dr. Waldman and his staff have taken care of all of your vision needs. From a thorough eye examination to a visit to the optical boutique, the friendly and knowledgeable staff is committed to making sure your visit to the office is a great experience. Learn more at erieoptical.com.
Something new is always happening at Great Lakes Mall. Want to know what's up at the mall? Text us. Be the first to learn about special events, sales, insider deals, contests, and giveaways. Just text MALL56 with no spaces to 74666 to opt into the Great Lakes Mall Mobile Shopper Club. Standard message and data rates apply from your carrier. You'll receive no more than 5 text messages each month. To learn more, visit shopgreatlakesmall.com.
Have something you're looking to buy, sell, trade, or give away? Tune in to the Radio Garage Sale and Auction every Saturday at 10 a.m. with me, Rob Bailey.
And Amy Krebs on Integrity Radio, WINT, 1330 AM and WINTradio.com.
Mondays with Malta and Ray Malavik 2. We're all about the kids. We're all about the kids. We're all about the kids.
And welcome back to the final segment. Man, they talk about, we always say our 2 hours just fly by, but tonight it is really going by quickly because of who we've had on the show. And we're not done yet. We still got a half an hour. If you're riding around the 306 area in Menor, stop on by. Got those great appetizers tonight, Mondays, every Monday, not just because the Browns are here tonight, but every Monday the appetizers for $4. And as you've heard the other people talk, they've had them already here, their meals. So stop on by. Wings, of course, always available, and good time. We got Monday Night Football coming on. We already got the Cavs in action, and I hate to say it, but they're down by double figures again. So we'll see. But somebody said earlier, Jeff, I think, there you are, that it's early. You know, come on, they play 80-some games. So let's see what happens in about, January, February. Let's see where they're at then.
Right.
Well, tonight's program is brought to you in part by D&W Goods, by Pepco, by Clemens Construction, by Matrix Tool and Machine, Menor Family Foods, Forenza Stone, and by Kramer Printing. Well, when we stopped the action there for a couple of minutes, Brian Brennan had said to Sam, and no one in particular, can the Browns make the playoffs? Let's go around, see what you think. So you're going to say, yes, they can because, or I don't think they can because. Let's see what we got. Let's start with the guy who writes about them every day.
No, I think they can make the playoffs. Certainly it's not a lock. I think they have to win 2 out of 3 at home and then gain a split on the road in those 4 games. It's not going to be easy. I still think that Baltimore is the best team in the division. So we'll see. They lost that game to Baltimore here. It's going to be tough to win there. But Atlanta is another team. I think they're better than their record. So we'll see what happens. But I think they can make it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the final game of the year is Baltimore.
Right, yeah. I think that's going to be a huge
giant game. Yeah. Thanks. Greg Pruitt, what about the Browns making the playoffs?
I agree. I think the Browns can make the playoffs. I think they got to continue to get healthy and get lucky to stay healthy. I think that when they get their 2 guys back offensively, Jordan Cameron and Josh Gordon, that they're going to create some situations for themselves, for the defense, that's going to help the running game. And when they run the ball, they're a different team because Hoyer really takes advantage of play action. I think that they'll beat Baltimore. I think they'll beat Baltimore in Baltimore. They should have beat Baltimore here. It was more of a coaching mistake than it was playing. And so I think that, like I said earlier, we have not seen the best of the Browns.
So we got a couple of yeses. Now Robert Jackson.
First of all, Jack Borky, I want to thank him from all of us.
He's right back there.
Jack Borky. Jack. We are all here because of Jack Borky. And Jack is great, all you do for Cleveland, for everything. Thank you. Yes, the Browns can make the playoffs. The name of the game is protecting and pressuring the quarterback. Our offensive line is getting better every week. Our defensive line against Cincinnati showed that they're up for the task. You pressure and protect your quarterback, it makes all the difference, comes a lot of weaknesses. So I'm very optimistic we're playing well in the trenches.
Excellent. Brian Brennan.
I hate to be a unanimous call here, but yes, there's no reason why they shouldn't make the playoffs. They're in first place in the AFC North, one of the most powerful divisions right now, right? You got the Pittsburgh Steelers that have played well, and Bengals are consistent in performer over the last few years. And Jeff Sudell said Baltimore is the best team. I don't agree with that. So I really think the Browns can make the playoffs. And you will see 2 teams out of the AFC North make the playoffs. And there's no question that the Browns will be one of them. In my opinion, they're playing well each and every week, getting better each and every week. And I love this coach. This coach is determined. I like what I see, and yes, they will make the playoffs.
Excellent.
I think they've got a good chance to make the playoffs. I think it's going to be much more difficult because there's 4 or 5 teams there that are going to be playing at a level to make the playoffs, and especially for us to win the division. There are 2 things they've got to do. Number 1, turnovers tell the tale. They've got to continue to be on the plus side of turnovers, and it's another thing you don't mention about Hoyer, about we don't have a lot of fumbles and we don't have a lot of interceptions. And then the other thing that's important, what you saw against a good team like Cincinnati, I think we've got to get 2 guys to rush the ball, and I think they got to have 150 to 160 yards rushing every game. And then finally, that Cameron would get well in the next 7 weeks, because both those guys last year had 86 plus catches. One had 1,000 yards, one had 1,600 yards, and they're going to make the difference, especially Gordon.
Coach, it's so easy to say they should have turned the ball over. It's so easy to say they're going to have to run the ball 150 yards per game. The last thing you said is the right thing.
What's that?
That they're going to get these players back, and that's going to elevate their play.
Yeah, well,
because there's no question every team has to do not turn the ball over and run the ball. Every team has to do that.
But that's
I agree with Coach.
That's the one thing.
But every team has to do that.
But
it's easy to say that, right? But
no, it's not easy to say that.
In the last game we played, we made dumb mistakes that turned the ball over. It's called shooting yourself in the foot.
Right.
And thank God Sunday the gun was half full, and that's what won the game. They
our
overcame
defense has brought us back. Their plus
But you don't want to keep
really
putting
high.
your defense in a position.
Well, it's easy to say that, right?
I understand, but you can control turnovers. And the kind of turnovers that the Browns have been making is mental mistakes doing turnovers.
When you look at the statistics and see why people lose football games, it's the turnover table.
Right.
And we're doing a good job. Listen, I know that you never saw a jockey carry a horse across the finish line. Right. You have to have good players, but the good players have to have discipline. Yes. Discipline means correction. It comes from the word disciple.
The horse got to know where the finish line is.
Greg, you returned punts and did pretty well. Why can't we return punts and not make all those blunders on punt return?
Sam said it all the time. The game is playing 99% from the neck up. I mean, that's a good example. You go to the 10-yard line. That's a rule. You ran punts back. Ball goes over your head. You walk off the field. You don't even look at the ball. You run off the field.
Look at the 8-yard line.
I don't know why this guy is going back
line.
there and trying to fill the ball.
That's 101 punt returning.
That's right, 101.
I mean, it's awful. I mean, they're averaging over like 2 yards of punt return, and.
Well, I tell you what, I take
we all know there's
the ball
intangibles,
and not
right?
turn it over.
It's easy to say what Sam said or I said or Robert, but the intangibles are what make you get to the playoffs, really.
Right.
It's the intestinal fortitude of the coach. It's the disciplines. It's the offense and defensive line really that helps you get to the playoffs.
And I agree with you said about Mike Patton. I mean, they really hit the jackpot here. And a lot of times people say you have to get a coach with head coaching experience. Well, if you do that, chances are the guy got fired at some time, right? If you get a head coach with head coaching experience. And look at Mike McCarthy in Green Bay. He wasn't a head coach before. I mean, there's not a lot of Bill Belichick's out there. So I think they got the right guy here, and I think he's going to keep their heads on straight. But we'll see. I think it's going to be a fun 7 weeks, that's for sure.
It's going to be very, very exciting, and I think that we're going to be able to really see Hoyer in terms of getting a lot more help, and the defense now is really getting together. I mean, right now, Kruger last year had 4.5 sacks in 16 games. He's got 6 now in 9 games. And Screen has not allowed the first-round draft choice, Gilbert, who we picked on the 8th pick. He's not even starting in the games.
Yeah.
And then last week he had 2 interceptions. So I think that it's going to be tough because it becomes a different game when you're fighting to get into the playoffs. Guy, you're going to see Atlanta, who should not be where they are today, really could be some kind of a factor. They could be a factor in hurting us.
They're 3-6. They're still in that race in
NFC South.
NFC South.
Yeah.
I mean, that division is not very good.
All right. We've almost talked 2 hours of Browns football. I sort of know Sam's answer, but I want to hear the rest of the players here and Sam's answer to this. You've seen him in practice, Jeff. We haven't yet mentioned Johnny Manziel, and I want if the very next play Brian Hoyer gets hurt, Johnny Manziel comes in. Now he's sat 9 games and he's taken a lot in. What do you think would happen? And can he play in this league?
No.
That was Brian Brennan.
The game's too fast for Johnny football. The game is slow for the better quarterbacks. And I was talking to Sam off air, and the game's too fast for Johnny Manziel. And I don't think the Browns have a chance to make the playoffs if Brian Hoyer gets hurt with Johnny Manziel. And I don't think Johnny Manziel is going to amount to much in the NFL, to be honest with you. It's a different game in college. And I went to Robert Jackson's Client Appreciation Night, and Brian Sipe said similar things. And I trust Brian Sipe. I trust Sam Bertigliano.
Well, Brian did make the comment. He has great talent, but he had a different game in college. All he had to do was beat one guy and bought time to make a play for somebody to get open, make that his historic play.
Well, I think the other thing too.
It's going to take him time to learn the progressions.
Well,
and
I
reads.
think the other thing is this no huddle. No huddle in college unless he goes to a team that has the same thing. Yeah. That's one thing. But if he got to stick his head and say Z hook, Y cross, and all of that, that's a different story.
You mean then read the defense to make those progressions?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then you got to read.
You know what? I think. I hope Hoyer plays the rest of the season without injury, but I think Johnny Manziel is going to be okay. I think we're seeing him grow up here. I pray that he doesn't run any more inflatable swans. I'm hoping he's got those days behind him. I mean, I nailed him at the rookie symposium here in June, and because I said to him, this is pretty cool actually. I said, Johnny, you told us at the combine that you were going to change when you got out of college. I said, well, it sure doesn't look like you're doing anything to change your lifestyle. And I don't know. He hasn't ridden any swans since, as far as I know. But, I don't want him to play this year, but I think he's going to surprise some people when he does get a chance.
Yeah. If you study the history of quarterbacks in the NFL, there are no old running quarterbacks. And the biggest thing that bothers me about him is he's got to grow up and have a lot of maturity. Right now he has a lot of class, but it's mostly second.
Well, I have to say, I think he'll do that, and I agree that he can't keep running. And look at Robert Griffin III. He's a bigger guy than
Robert Griffin III was so fast that he could have went to the Olympics. And right now, that 6 inches between his ears, because he had an ACL, he is no longer the same guy.
Right.
And you got to understand that when you play at Texas A&M and you play Alabama, you got 2 or 3 kids over there that are like Mosley, a #1 draft choice, or a corner that can run a 4.4. You go into the NFL. In the NFL, you have 69,000 college football players. In the NFL, it's down to 32 teams, 53-man rosters. Less than 1% of the college football players make it in the NFL.
I wanted the Browns to draft Derek Carr. I'm not on record saying that I wanted them to get him.
You're on record saying a lot over there, Mr. Shudell. That he can make it. That what are you talking about?
I think he's going to be good. I think Carr is going to be good.
Who's that?
Derek Carr.
We're not talking about Carr.
I know. But I also think that Johnny Manziel will surprise his doubters, but I don't want that to be this year. I want him to re-sign.
Let me ask you this. How old is Brian Hoyer?
29.
Okay, when Hoyer continues to do what he's doing and he makes it into the playoffs, where's Johnny Manziel going to learn how to play football with a guy that's 29 years old and took a team to first place, and the last time we had first place was 19 years ago?
Listen,
I know where you're all coming from.
The discussion is not whether Manziel should be playing, it's whether he can succeed. And I think he will succeed.
Someplace else.
But if it's someplace else, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't even be a discussion topic right now.
It will not be in the NFL, his success. It'll be in a different league. I'll go with that.
You're a lot smarter than me, Brian, but we'll see what happens.
I'm just saying, Jeff. I'm just saying. When Sam and I talked about Doug Flutie hung in the pocket. And I played with Doug Flutie, right?
Yeah,
and he got washed out of the NFL. I don't think because of his play.
He was thrown under the bus.
He was thrown under the bus by Ditka and then by the Buffalo Bills. But he still played 22 years in some sort of pro sports, including San Diego, Buffalo Bills, and the Chicago Bears.
Right.
And the New England Patriots.
And we'll see, though. I mean,
that'd be interesting.
I think that Manziel's going to figure out what he can and cannot do in this league. It might take an injury for it to dawn on him, but I think he will.
Well, hopefully it's not an injury to his legs. That just makes it tougher.
Let's hope it's not an injury to Hoyer.
Right. That's what I mean. I mean, look at Brian Hoyer. He rolls out a lot with that play action going.
He makes it look easy, and it ain't.
Yeah, he does.
Brian Hoyer makes it look easy.
And I don't want the people to be loaded to watching Hoyer and the offense is rolling and they doing this and they doing that. And they think, oh, well, Manziel's faster. He's more elusive, and we'll be a much better team with him. And
No way.
And it's not the same.
I will say that 20 teams passed on Johnny Manziel in that first round.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Jeff, if we had not, even if we moved up from 26 to 22, if we didn't draft Manziel, no one would have drafted him on the first round. That proof is there because Bortles was a third pick and Bridgewater was a 32nd pick and Johnny Manziel was a 22nd pick. He would have never been picked on the first round.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could be right. Same thing happened 2 years ago with Whedon.
Now, let's talk about the drafts the last 2 years. Let's get into that discussion about
we've got a little time
who
for
have they
that.
gotten over the last 2 years that have been really meaningful in the first round. Mingo, Gilbert, Manziel.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, the drafts haven't been good.
How can Ray Farmer, Jeff, come out and say that it's questionable that Brian Hoyer's in their future and maybe Johnny Manziel is? How can he? Is that a rumor or was that really?
No,
spoken?
I was there. And I mean, I was asking him questions, Brian,
Well, hey, remember I said we got.
What are you doing,
young
Jeff?
team.
What is your responsibility?
We got a young front office.
I know. I said,
and we got
said
young coaches, and they all learning.
I said to him,
So
you know,
you'll learn from making that kind of statement.
He wants Manziel because he drafted Manziel, and I was saying earlier that that's why I like Mike Pettin because Mike Pettin is playing his best players.
And maybe Haslam drafted Manziel, not Ray Farmer.
Yeah, I could have.
Right, Greg? What do you think? Who drafted Manziel, Farmer or Haslam?
Well,
Greg Pruitt, speak up.
Well, I just thought it was puzzling that you had Hoyer, the kind of quarterback. Prior to this, and I say this to people all the time, I remember we were so frustrated watching the Browns every Sunday. I mean, we could call the plays before they called them. They did a poor job of executing the play. Then all of a sudden, Hoyer comes in, and for 3 weeks, we're going up and down the field, up and down the field. And then one thing happened, only one change, and that's Hoyer got hurt. One guy came in different, and then we went back to what we used to do.
Yeah, you're right.
That was enough for me to tell you that he made a huge difference. And now the rule, which I think is the smart thing, you don't lose your job to an injury. And at least they stuck to that, and he gets to come back and fights for his job. And all the stuff that has gone on about Manziel and Hoyer and how
tells you a little bit about his character.
And how he managed to play under all of
too.
that is amazing to me. And I think we're doing well. We're in first place. Don't rock the boat.
Well, you know, I mean, and think of poor Brian Hoyer. I mean, if there was anybody else behind him, no one would be asking for the rookie quarterback to play.
Right.
But here he is. He's won 5 of the last 6 games, and people, for some reason, are still asking for Manziel.
Well, you know, the strange thing is if he don't get hurt the year before, Manziel wouldn't be here anyway.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah, Patton said he wouldn't be here if Brian Hoyer didn't get hurt.
Okay, with all that input, do they sign him long term?
Who do you mean?
Hoyer.
I think he deserves a contract. I think it's up to Hoyer what he wants to get. I mean, he's playing well. He's 29. That's not, that's a lot of years left in his game. And I don't think it's hard to find quarterbacks. It's hard to find them that can make you a better team. So I think he deserves that. He earned that.
If he has a winning season, if they get to the playoffs, I mean, he'd have to collapse now, and I don't think that's going to happen. They'll sign him. They've got to sign him. There's no way in the world Manziel is going to get out there this year, and to come back with Manziel and let Hoyer go someplace else would be suicide. Doesn't make any sense at all.
I can't believe there's a referendum on Brian Hoyer. I really can't. The guy has done everything.
You know why there's a referendum on him? Because the owner picked Johnny Manziel.
There
That's
it is.
why.
That's probably the reason why, right? So why is there a referendum on Hoyer?
I think they should re-sign him. So what if the Browns do not make the playoffs? Then do they re-sign him?
Well, if they have a winning season, you're still going to be much better off than you were before. I mean, I unless they have a losing season in the next 7 games, I think that Hoyer's the guy.
I mean, yeah.
And I'm sure you agree.
Again,
where he's at.
Before, all I was saying is that I think Menzel will be a success. That doesn't mean he should be playing instead.
Yes.
Simple.
Okay,
Succinct.
we're really near Thanksgiving, and it's been about the current Browns, and that's what it should be. But I think it was Robert who's told the story before. So let's hear the story for our little listeners at home about the turkey and Joe Turkey Jones, not once but twice.
Greg was there. No, it's a great tradition the Cleveland Browns have that rookies go get turkeys for their various positions. So offensive lineman, I'd go get them. Brian,
but Deke really sold it. They put the turkey up on the wall and fake list. I want
coaches,
20 pounds.
Sam and Forrest, they put a sign up, Joe's Turkey Farm, and here it is. And coaches would come sign up, and I want a 20-pound butterball.
And I'm gonna go and confess, they got me. I got lost on every time I go to Northfield and Rockside. I remember that. I remember Turkey Day. That's as far as I got before. I was so lost, I didn't know where I was.
On the off day, so players, I mean, historically, Turkey Jones went 2 years in a row. Pretty good sailing job.
Yeah, he is. Who was the guy that was the manager before Cusack?
Chip Falvey.
No, the downstairs, not Bobby Glenn. The older gentleman. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Cordell, yeah.
Didn't he go up to him and ask him that? He said, I need a shoelace.
Oh, that's a good one.
He said, I need a shoelace. He said, well, what's... no, how did it go again?
He said a left one or right one? Turkey said a left one. but those shoes, the turkey, Dave Logan fell for it, and every player would have about 6-7 pairs of shoes in their locker. So Dave he got so ticked off, he came back, it was on our off day, he took every pair of shoes every player had in his locker, threw them into a big box in the middle of the room and just mingled them all up. He was so pissed. I mean, it was a great selling job from the whole organization. What's a turkey cost? $10. I mean, what it cost you to buy your whole offensive line instead of spending the day doing it? $5.
Those guys.
We fell for it. Greg did, I did, and I'd even been warned about it.
But you didn't do it twice.
Oh, good one.
That's the key. Well, I'll tell you guys, on behalf of Charlie's the main guy here. He hasn't said 2 words all night, but he will now.
Fun.
It has been
Let's
great
thank
fun.
Jack Borky again for putting it together.
Yeah, Jack.
Jeff Trudell. He covered my golf team back 35 years ago, and now he's been Browns beat writer since '81.
Every time I'm here, you guys are awesome.
30 years of covering the Browns. Right?
Yeah, that says a lot. And Greg, we really appreciate it. Robert, Brian, and Coach, you've always been there for us. So we'll do this every year. So I hope you'd come back next year too, and maybe we'll have a ring or
maybe we'll have a special show when the Browns win the Super Bowl. How's that?
That would be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. Thanks for the stories. That was classic. Greg Pruitt, Robert Jackson, Brian Brennan, and Coach Sam Tigliano, along with Jeff Trudell. Thank you very much for coming here tonight. That was great radio. 2 hours,
well,
right?
Charlie, I'll tell you, we got a couple of minutes to set the stage for the playoffs coming up this weekend. Of course, you'll hear the action live on Integrity Radio, 1330, Friday night and Saturday night. Probably at least a game each night, maybe even
I know for
stream,
for sure we're doing the 2. And,
Willoughby South
right,
for sure. And that
on
game,
Friday, and then Menor on Saturday.
That game's out at Solon and against Canton, Glen Oak, and Menor. And they will be playing at University of Akron. Nice facility. I don't know if you've been out there since they've kind of revamped it. And it's a great place to watch a football game. So, and not that far for our people to come out and follow. And Kirtland, of course. Wow. I mean, what can you say about that school? They just keep winning. That's all they do. It's been great. And this is the best time of the year. And we know for sure. I mean, I'll guarantee that when we talk here next Monday, some of those high school teams we're mentioning are going to be alive, and they're going to be looking for that next one. Robert, thank you.
Next week we'll be at Lost Nation Sports Parks Players Club. We'll have 6 schools. It's our girls' high school basketball preview
we're
show.
talking playoff football, which was just starting, really. But, hey, things go on. I was at AD meeting today, for wrestling and boys basketball, and I'm calling a women's opening, what they call a tip-off classic basketball tournament this coming weekend, Saturday and Sunday, out at Lake Erie for our good friend Bob Moore and his team. So basketball's here, Cavs are on, and I gotta make mention that I mentioned earlier about 5-6 minutes ago the Cavs were getting hammered. Well, all of a sudden, thanks to a guy named LeBron James, who I watched score 15 straight points, all of a sudden now they're leading only by 2, but they came back. So
okay, well, we're almost at the top of the hour. Thank you, Alan Parrish. Thank you, Glenn Fowley, and all that came out here tonight. A lot of fun. We'll see you next week at the Players Club. Mondays with Malta, Ray Malavik 2, Integrity Radio, 1330 a.m., and that is WINTradio.com.